Well, welcome to the WOW Empress Codes Intentional Journal Readings, where it's all about aligning with the highest truth of your Dominion destiny for this life phase and unlocking your life codes that are going to help you know how to best move forward in the present. And my motto is that your new now destiny codes aren't found in the stars or in the cars. They're found in the life codes. And I always like to start these sessions by sharing just a little bit really about the benefits of being able to unlock your life codes and being able to do decoding and recoding for your life to really align at your highest divine destiny trajectory. And this really is with using the simple practice of intentional journaling. Because what intentional journaling does, it allows you within the process to have these prompts. I always say it provides this experience for the prompts and triggers that are really going to help extract these your divine codes, is what's encoding within you. And so we want to be able to allow processes to bring forth your unique information, because that's what it's all about, tapping into your unique data. And this is all about your true life's design. And again, for this phase. So I am the WOW Empress, AliNICOLE WOW, and I am happy today because once again, I have my STAR Queen Celebrity-preneur Protégé, Gina Gardiner, and she's joining me for this intentional journal reading segment. And we, as always, we feature several individual and co-authored journal style publications, and we're going to see which ones come up for the reading today. Gina, thank you always for being here.
Oh, an absolute pleasure. I've never ceased to be amazed at the things that come out of these sessions, and you just never know what's going to happen. They're always powerful. That's the one thing you can promise.
Oh, absolutely. You and me both. I'm really excited to see how these divine destiny codes get unlocked today. It's always so great that others can have the benefit of these experiences that we bring forth, and just in a very natural, organic way. And so when Gina and I are doing these sessions or these segments, if you haven't seen any of the other ones that we've done, we bring together, as I mentioned, several of the journals that we've co-authored together in some of our individual ones, and we are just really just present. So we don't have a planned agenda at this moment. The agenda is really to be present, and we're going to allow whatever core themes come up and see how this unfolds. So Gina, before we get started and maybe showing the categories that you have put the journals in or so, do you want to jumpstart with anything, to say anything before we get started, or should we move right into showcasing what we're going to be doing today with the readings of the journals?
Other than the fact that I absolutely endorse the value of intentional journaling, I think let's jump right in.
Okay, great. And I'm going to sit with that, with what you said also, the value of intentional journaling, because we talk about the benefits for sure, but being able to use that language around the valuable experience is really an invaluable experience at the end of the day, isn't it? When we see the benefits and the value, right, of what emerges from here. So before I actually do take a moment to get present and we do some deep breathing also, just to see if there is going to be a core theme that comes up. If you would like, go ahead and just showcase what we have, what you have over there today. See what we're working with here.
So intentional journals are useful for your personal life and also for your professional life. So if I start with professional life, there's a series of journals around leadership, and these are mine. They start with emerging, to do it the other way around, enlightened emerging leadership. I don't know if you can see that. And then not necessarily in any particular order, but enlightened or authentic leadership, limitless leadership, and profitable leadership.
Yes.
But then there's a whole series of books around profits, creating profits from the inside out, the profitable enlightened leaders and leaders' journey,
Mhm.
journey into new era of profitability, or enlightened leadership, and discovering new levels of financial power the right way.
Mhm.
Now, if I go to some of yours, I have a whole range, and I would say there's those that look at health. So love thyself, be and give the love you wish to receive.
Mhm.
The well of transformation.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
Returning to wellness.
Mhm.
Your inner healing pool. And then a journal that I wrote with a friend around taking responsibility for your health and well-being, particularly when you're dealing with the medical profession, and that's your life in your hands. Where does the responsibility lie? And I co-wrote that with a great friend.
Yeah.
And then you have a series of spiritual, you haven't named them that, I've named them that.
You've given them your own name. Yeah. No, that's great. They're spiritual. I did want to ask you, because you were holding up the wellness section. Do we have available wellness as a state of mind? Did that
Yes,
one?
sorry, that got put in the wrong pile. There we are.
Oh, okay, that one is available. Okay, great, awesome.
That had snuck into my spiritual pile.
Oh yeah, because guess what? That is spiritual, very much. Body, mind, and spirit for sure, definitely.
And then we have a fresh new start with God. And there are some that, with all of these things, you will find that there are some that resonate more at different times.
Right.
The last few weeks, that's been one that's been a really significant for me in terms of where I am. Then Him Possible is another one of those that I call very spiritual. In terms of profitability, Red Root Riches for Empathic Entrepreneurs is one of yours. And that's another. I mean, they're all good, and they all serve a particular time and purpose. And then the whole idea of growth, metamorphosis, evolution, Millionaire Monarch, the metamorphosis factor, and then one that we have I have here, that harnessing your empathic, profitable phoenixpreneur power. And you've written that, but I've written the forward to that. Two that actually we used together in one of my growth sessions recently. The Be Water cross industries factor.
Yes.
And that just arrived today, so I haven't actually started using it yet, so I'm looking forward to that. And then Psalm 13, Men and Women, planted by
Psalm 1:3. Yeah, Psalm
1:3. Sorry, 1:3. I'm trying to read it sideways.
Yeah, I understand. Is Water to Wine available? Is that one? Did that one
I thought I'd shown that one already. Hold on a moment.
I was thinking that one would be in the spiritual group. Just just as it comes up. If not, maybe it didn't show itself today in for this segment.
Yes, it's there.
Okay. All right. Well, okay, awesome. All right, wonderful. Okay, great. So what else?
There's a series for empaths. I won't go through them one by one, but there's a whole series for
empaths. No, please do. Please do.
Oh, okay. So we start off with are you an empath? Discovering whether you are an empath. And that's really significant, particularly at this moment. Lots of people aren't quite sure, but that helps you to find out. And then harnessing the power of being an empath, stepping into your genuine power as an empath, and then accelerating your empathic potential. And that's just so important at this moment in time.
Oh, absolutely. Now, there's another one that's not present, but you're soaring to new heights. as an empath. That one we'll make sure that, because it is a part of that series, we'll make sure that we do have the link to that one in the description as well.
Absolutely. And then sharing your empathic journey the right way, WRITE. And so that's that series. And then there's a series that are, there's no one theme other than personal empowerment. For my latest one, taking the bullshit out of business. And whether it's in your business life actually or your personal life, being honest with yourself, looking in the mirror and actually owning who you are is really important. And that's a book about how, having an efficient bullshit meter to look at yourself and to others is really important. But the most important is to look at yourself. Now, for those who are getting on, who are over 60, many people think that they're over the hill and what can you do? But ultimately, I would say to you, you're just about to get started on a new chapter of your life. And so Genuinely New, a powerful journal and action planner, discovering your new leadership identity, powerful purpose, and thriving life after 60. And that's, looking at how you can use your expertise and skills and experience to help others and to really be of service in that last part of your autumn of your years. For me, my garden is my spiritual home, if you like. And so my garden insights to the window of my soul, a journal of reflection to explore the relationship with your inner wisdom. I think there's so much white noise in the world that very often people don't take the time to be quiet and still and actually access their inner wisdom. And it's so important. Gardening's my way. There's lots of different ways. And the book explores how you can find your window on your soul. Embracing the author within. We've all got experiences, expertise, and skills that we can share with others to help them. I mean, how often can you look back and think with hindsight, if only I'd known whatever? And so that's about how you can generate help for other people and a passive income for you by using that expertise in the right way, WRITE. Thriving Not Surviving, there's a series of journals that go with the book, Thriving Not Surviving, the 5 secret pathways of happiness, success and fulfillment. And it's a really intentional journal which sets the theme for the day and allows you to explore the themes of the book that actually bring that practice into your own life. For leaders, it's time to become a beacon of light and hope. And so this one uses the prompts of snippets from very famous speeches over history, which have brought light and hope at really dark times. So I think that's the lot that I have around me.
Okay, yeah, so okay, that's fine, good. So yeah, just whichever ones came up to be available, for this. We do know some of the publications have a tendency to hide, so yeah, the ones that made themselves known to be present with us today, we're very grateful, for that. So I'm gonna take a few moments to just do some deep breathing. So I'm gonna invite everyone to take 3 nice deep breaths, please. Okay. So I'm just being present with the space. And while I'm actually just being present here, something that is coming up, even around what you mentioned about the value of journaling, and it makes me reflect actually back to when I actually first started using intentional journaling and the practice. I actually had created a program that was called the Valuable You. And this was back in 2008. And it was actually my first coaching program that I had created. And within that program, I actually had the process of journaling, that's when I really got very into intentional journaling. And I hadn't created any journals that hadn't even become published, at that time. But I had 3 different journals for intentionality that I had my cohorts to use. And it's just them getting a journal or a notebook or so and setting it aside for these specific areas, And so I remember one was for, their self journal, and then just a journal they could just journal their emotions. And then one was for the spiritual aspect, but we had just the 3 different categories. And so I'm just thinking so much about how within the valuable you, and it was really about being able to discover your original worth and really reset yourself back to that original worth. And that whole process was about the inner work and discovering the inner treasure, the inner diamond, so to speak, digging up the diamond within your depths and being able to, bring forth the greater gifts. And I remember within that program using the book from Doris Helg, which is Transforming Your Pain into Power, which I believe you actually have a copy of that, as well somewhere. So something around that about the value of life, I believe is a good premise to jump off from, because we have to value this life that we live and understand the importance of it. And our life is very much like a journal, and we are to be the journalist, as you know, my common theme, be the journalist of your life and of your experience. And how do you actually discover the value of your life and of who you are, but yet going on this treasure hunt, so to speak, to discover that and being present. So I believe that that's a good core theme that we can sort of just jumpstart off on, and we'll see if some other emerging core themes come up, and they will allow the journals to speak to us and present themselves and which ones want to, be a part of this experience. So Gina, would you like to piggyback off of that or?
I would, how we value ourselves is a really interesting thing. How many people value what other people say and do, and they give that a higher value than the things that they say or do.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody else has an achievement, it's it's wonderful. But when you talk about them having the achievement, it's okay. And that they dumb it down rather than really embracing the value. And ultimately, if you don't value yourself, how do you expect other people to value you? And I think a lot of it comes from conditioning, don't be boastful, play things small. But one of the things around journaling, I think, is that it's about writing with no filter. It's not about writing through anybody else's opinion or whether anybody's actually going to see it and say to you, well, that's not right, or that's silly. You can write and you can be truly honest with yourself and know that there is no judgment from the page. The only judgment is that you put on it. And so learning to journal and just be free for many people is such a new experience. And I can't think of another one where you can be that honest, that open and free, and focus on anything. It can be your personal life, emotional, physical, mental, spiritual. It can be your professional life. It can be dealing with an issue. It can be dreaming of the future. And you actually have total freedom there.
That is so true.
For me, it's one of those things that, when I go back and I look at things that I've written previously, it does a number of things. One is it shows me how much I've grown very often. And I think, I can see that was a stepping stone. I often dip into the journal to find those thoughts, and they become an article, or they become part of something that I'm doing in terms of presentation or so on. So they are treasure. But like anything, you have to nurture your treasure. You have to protect it, and you have to actually put the treasure in place first, which
That's right.
get started, and it doesn't have to take long, and it doesn't have to be difficult.
Absolutely. I love what you said. I love everything that you said. There's so much to talk about, you know, around this. And going on what you just brought up, because it takes me back even to the program that I created, and one of the core themes around it was being able to display your true worth, your true value, really your original intent of what God created, why you were created, you know, in this valuable image, so to speak. But you can't discover and know that, but to be present with discovering what that is. And so I really believe that this segment here is going to be really about uncovering that and being able to help bring up those valuables in understanding and awareness in terms of actually how you need to go about discovering your value. And I want to speak to this because throughout my journey, and I've created even publications around this, and we're actually going to probably do a screen share to two of the journals that I created. One is The Valuable You and one is The Valuable Me, because I ended up transforming a lot of my journal creations and different things into publications. And like you said, presentations, they provided so many triggers. And then I found that a lot of my books were written just by my journal entries. And being able to leverage those and then provide a sacred space, you know, for others to be able to have those same trigger prompts for themselves to explore, you know, who they are. But I love that this is where we're starting today, because I believe that without that higher understanding of knowing who you are, loving who you are, valuing who you are, trusting who you are, without that, it really doesn't matter much of what else you try to do. And you know what, on that note, before I start going down, I won't say a rabbit hole, so to speak, but even deeper around the context of what's unfolding at this time, let's actually be present with the publication, Love Thyself. So if you can bring that one up, I feel we should even go there before I even go to the journals that are, we can maybe do a screen share or so of those in just a little bit. So yeah, we can be present with that. That energy is jumping up. So and
There it is.
There we go. Okay, yes. So let me see that one more time. Bring that up here. Okay, love thyself. Be, give the love you wish to receive. All right, I just need to be present with the vibration of it, just in the present moment here. Okay, so I'm gonna allow you to be present with it now, and then you can open that up. And I'll share later what the context was of what came up for me just in being present with that.
So the bit that pops out is, an illusion of the absence of love is a call to love. Again, we must first learn how to love ourselves enough that we give away our love in the right way and at the right time. Some people want to be loved so badly by another person that they miss the opportunity to show love to themselves and receive the gift of unconditional love from God. I once had a Facebook message from God that stated, "Everyone is looking for love, but the blessed ones do the opposite. Blessed are those looking to give love." Right now, think of 3 simple ways you can give love and be blessed.
I'm so glad that is the jump off, because actually, believe it or not, what I was going to start talking about and kind of going down, as I thought to say, a rabbit hole, so to speak, but really is just going to be expounded upon it, actually is around what you just read. So unbelievable already. So there's a part where within that, I may get you to revisit that, where loving yourself in the right way, if something around that came up. So while you're looking for that,
first learn how to love ourselves enough that we give away our love in the right way.
There we go, right
way. At the right time.
Okay, there we go, perfect. Okay, so what I was going to talk about earlier was in terms of what I learned over the years as I created different levels of the valuable you and the valuable me, because there's very multiple levels to what I've done with this over the years. But what I discovered was that there were so many different dimensions, and that even what the premise that I was teaching from at one time was just a level, and it was just a foundation, but there was so much more that even what was taught then, that people could apply that for sure, and they were definitely getting results, and I had gotten my own results. But then there was more levels to this, and found that what I grounded and anchored at one phase and others too was not going to be sufficient enough for the continuation of the journey, which goes to how are we accurately valuing ourselves at each stage? Because just because we learn how to value and love ourselves at a certain stage, and that's what worked, but for everything that is emerging, it doesn't mean that that's going to be sufficient enough to continue. And so that means that you're not really loving yourself or giving the love to others in the right way, or preparing accurately if you continue in the foundation, or just keep rinsing and repeating what you learned and not expanding that and taking it to the next level, which caused me to keep creating different levels of this experience, because we each need this at different levels. We grow, we evolve. And also too, the people that come into our lives are going to be different sometimes. Sometimes you've prepared to love yourself at a certain level, and you've prepared to be that blessing to others on a certain level. But again, there comes a time where you have to graduate and move on and expand, or we just can't be so become conditioned and creatures of habit with that which we have anchored and established. So it just invites us to go deeper into the value of who we are, and deeper into the love, so that we are accurately at every phase acting accordingly, and not acting from just really a routine practice. You know, when the rituals come to ruin, they ruin you in a sense, because you've gotten too comfortable in the practice of it, that is not as authentic as it could be, coming from just a place of the powerful now. And so with me actually sharing that, when I had you to hold up the publication, and I wanted to be present with it, in this present moment, because that publication has been written several years ago. I consider it one of my throwbacks, you know, for sure. And but being able to be right in the moment, and the energy of the receiving was what was coming up. And I think so often, Gina, that people still don't allow themselves to be in the receptive mode to receive the love that they need to give out. And even though maybe they have been receiving, they've been giving and receiving, but again, this is really about the next level. So here we go. Here's what the core theme is, at least right now in the context, is really about the next level of valuing and honoring yourself, okay? And that's really honoring the value of life, honoring this next level that's emerging, that's starting in the now. So how do people start to prepare to be the valuable expression that they are, and what's emerging? So that's what's really emerging right now, Gina, is the preparation for accurate preparation for the now, and what's emerging in terms of this next level of valuable living, if that makes sense.
It does make perfect sense. And I think if you imagine it's a building, for example, you talked about the foundation and laying strong foundations. I think you've only got to look around and listen to people to know that for most people, they haven't got a strong foundation in terms of love for themselves, that they believe that everybody else is better than them, that they are unkind in terms of the judgments they make about themselves, and that critical voice that goes round in their head. And lots of people get to the first floor where they feel okay about themselves, but they don't truly recognize that loving oneself is not a pink and fluffy thing. It's not being indulgent. If you truly love and value who you are, then there is a desire to be the very best you can be. And that it can be really challenging at times, but through
certainly,
it's the not making the stories up. It's the not being judgmental. and recognizing the things you do well and celebrating that,
Mhm.
and the areas for development, not beating yourself up and saying, I shouldn't, but just recognizing it's up to you. It's your choice whether you're going to move forward and you're going to keep pace with the development that you could have if you actually really truly valued who you are. And interesting, the 4 words you use, the knowing who you are, the loving who you are, the valuing who you are, and then trusting yourself to know that you can trust yourself even when you're not quite sure what to do or how to be, that you love yourself and know that you will actually discover how to be, how to do, if you give yourself the credit and you give yourself that internal support.
Definitely, definitely. That is beyond huge, because really, like I said, without that, it's really hard to move forward in anything that is authentic when those key elements haven't been established. And that foundation is very important. And sometimes we even have to lay a new foundation, right, Gina? We do. We do sometimes have to break up the old ground so that we can build anew, because sometimes we don't want to continue to build on a foundation that is no longer relevant to who we have evolved into. And so I think that that is so important to really be present with during this time, as the interior of whom is listening to this is really undergoing reconstruction, if you will, in terms of re-engineering, I should say, so that they're able to discover this new level of value that wants to come forth. And as that comes forth, a new story comes forth for their lives. And also too, new ways of beingness, new ways of being valuable, new ways of receiving love, and new ways of giving love. So it all is about, the new value that wants to emerge and come forth. Because sometimes, you can show off and display the diamond of yesterday, and though it is valuable and it's in its rarity and everything, and it's timeless, but sometimes there's a newer display that needs to come forth, which means that we have more within us. Stop just showcasing the diamond you've brought forth before, where there's so much more. Now you can bring forth the treasure chest or the jewelry store at this point. So I think that that's really important. Sometimes we can keep just displaying over and over and over that which we think has been extracted and perfected, and get so distracted with that we don't actually take the time to explore more about who we are.
I think that's so true. For me, I think, what I'm reminded of is a conversation we had some time ago around, the foundation is built, but ultimately, if you use the same language, if you use the same thinking, you use in the same energetic cycle, then you just keep reproducing what you have. So the foundation, if you like, well, very mixed metaphors, but has to become the springboard,
it does,
if you like, for the next floor. And if you think about a building, let's go back to that metaphor. You go up the stairs, there's a foundation to each floor, isn't there?
Absolutely.
There is a floor which is solid that you can walk on. But if you want to go to the next level, then you have to leave that floor and you have to go up the stairs to the next one. And with that, if you keep using the same level of the thinking, the same level of the same behaviors, the same language, then those stairs are not available to you.
Right, they're not.
On the floor, and you can't actually go up to the next floor. And I think, recognizing the value when you are in it of how that's helping you grow, but also recognizing when it's time to move on, time to say, thank you, that served its purpose.
Yes.
Actually, I'm now looking for the next level, the next way to love myself in an appropriate and expanded way.
Right. And accurately preparing for that, because we want to make sure that too, in going to the next level, it's not still preparing in old ways. And so it just goes right back to what you were mentioning in terms of the conversations that we've had, for quite some time, just in terms of the language shifting, but the habits, the behaviors, the patterns that level up. And it's not that certain patterns are bad, but it's that if they aren't going to be serving for what's emerging, then it's just as well as it being bad, because it's not what's going to be applicable, if you will, of the most beneficial for what's emerging. And so you definitely want to make sure you're accurately preparing. It would be almost like someone who, is headed to college, and instead of preparing for the United States is the SATs or the ACT tests, to have those higher scores so that you can get into the best schools. But if they're preparing like they're going to junior high, or middle school, so to speak, and they haven't accurately prepared, but they've been spending time preparing, but not preparing for actually what's required for moving forward. And so that's something you have to be really mindful. I want to bring up even love, because I do a lot of coaching and programs in that arena, as well. And so when people are not just looking to have that love relationship with a significant other, but really establishing it, for themselves first, they have to be preparing for the life that they love, which is holistically, and also, as they're preparing for their partner, so to speak. There's so many different levels that you have to prepare, but you want to be accurately preparing and being able to now bring this new level of value. You want to make sure that you are definitely preparing for this now level and next level of value that's emerging, and even discovering, what that is. So what I would like to do really quick, and this is going to blow your mind to something I'm going to show in just a moment, in terms of you talking about the stairs and everything. I'll save that for the element of surprise. But if you don't mind, could you actually allow me to screen share really
I'll
quick?
make you host. Hold on a
Thank
moment.
you.
Here we go.
Okay, so now let me press. Okay, let me come here. Okay, so can you see my screen?
I can now, yes.
Okay, wonderful. So here's one of my journals. It's the Valuable You Self-Worth Affirmation Journal for women. So I'm going to click inside and let's just even see what it has, because you never know what Amazon is going to show you. And I haven't pre-looked in here. So I'm just being present. I'm just being present with this right now. And I'm going to bring up the Valuable Me journal as well. So this one's a self-worth affirmations journal for women. So let's see if they will show us. Let's see if they're going to show us affirmation. Okay, I am highly valuable. Let me see if they have any others so that I can just be present with which ones will come up here. So they have 3. So we're actually going to be present with all 3 of these. So I am highly valuable. Okay. So I approve of myself and love myself deeply and completely. So let's take a deep breath on that. And just repeat that to yourself. Okay. I approve of myself and love myself deeply and completely. So let's come to the next one here. I acknowledge my own self-worth. I acknowledge my own self-worth. Take a deep breath, please. Just repeat that to yourself. Okay. And this last one here, since that's all they're showing us, which they're not going to show everything that's in there, obviously. Okay, this last one, whether I have been valued in the past is irrelevant. I value myself in this moment, and I will be valued in the future. Wow, we can have some conversation around this for sure. But let's take a deep breath for now. And just repeat that to yourself. Whether I have been valued in the past is relevant. I value myself in this moment, and I will be valued in the future. Okay, Gina, I want to spend time actually with each of these, but this one right here, let's spend some time here. Honestly, I write so much, I produce so much, and Gina knows this, with over 300 works on Amazon. Yeah, I don't always remember what's actually in certain publications. So when I come to them, like, whoa, okay, yes, now I can remember this. So remember what we've been actually talking about in terms of the right now and what's emerging, right? And accurately preparing for how to value ourselves and love ourselves in these now moments, so that, yes, we know that we are preparing for what's emerging for the future. And so we're suspending the what has been. And again, even if someone has been valued, just like this quote states, or affirmation, so to speak, whether I've been valued in the past is irrelevant. So that's like, yeah, whatever the foundation was, whatever has been becomes irrelevant, because it's about the present moment and what's emerging. And so I'm just tickled and thrilled by this, because we never cease to be amazed with how this experience is going to play out. And here we are with, with coming into this particular journal and being able to, witness this just unfolding. And so I just wanted to bring that up. So actually what I am going to do is I'm going to go back to the first one, and then we'll come back to this one, but I want to highlight this just so it just illuminates the magnificence of how this just unfolds. So let me come back up here, and then we can, okay, so I approve of myself and love myself deeply and completely. So Gina, let's talk about that, because sometimes we know that is not accurate for most at any given time. And we know with affirmations, because they are words of power and people want to affirm, but we want this to really go deep within them, where it's not something they're just saying for the saying sake, that they can understand there is a dimension of them that even when they don't feel this way, there's a dimension of them that actually has this actualized, and that's kind of the energy they need to pull from. But you can speak to anything around this that you desire.
It's really interesting, because they're affirmations, but I call them power play sentences.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I ask clients to do is to actually create their own power.
Same here.
And then to read it out, and to read it out in a very specific way. And that is to read it out with, and I call it with a lot of welly, with real intention and emphasis, but actually to emphasize each word in turn, because it gives it a different meaning. Right. I approve of myself and love myself deeply and completely. I approve of myself and love myself deeply and completely, and so on. And to use that actually as you go walking or you go cycling, and to be, whether you do it out loud if there's nobody around, or to do it internally, so it really gets into the muscle memory, so that it becomes a real part of who you do. And if you're feeling that you're not actually loving and approving of yourself, then to bring your power sentence into play. And clients have found that this to be incredibly powerful. And many of them, if they've got children, have helped their children have their own power sentence. Yes. Because one of the things that strikes me is that when you look at very small children, they love and approve of themselves deeply and completely. oblivious to what other people think. But it's as we get older, you know, by 4 or 5, people are really starting to worry about fitting in and what people think.
Mm-hmm.
And this is about you having that relationship, which is not dependent upon anybody else saying well done, or that you are valued, or that you are worth loving. It's about owning who you are.
Absolutely.
And it's so important.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I co-sign 1,000% on all of that. So the next one is I acknowledge my own self-worth. Do you have anything to say around that?
Isn't it interesting how we'll often value what other people's worth is?
Mm-hmm.
And we have a very different measurement for them than we do for ourselves. So if you imagine the scales of justice, and whatever criteria you use to measure other people, use the same for yourself, and start to acknowledge all of the things that you do, your strengths, the fact that you are resilient, that you are strong, that you've survived, and just give yourself the same level of credit that you'd give other people.
Absolutely.
And do it often, and do it loudly in your head, at least, in your heart.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Love that. Okay, let's move on to this one real quick. I know this could really, we could stay on this one the whole
day.
The whole entire segment, right?
Interesting, isn't it? How, well, there's a number of levels to this. That one is that's how many people dwell in the past, and that they look back and they regret things, and they wish things were different, and they hold on to old hurts and so on. And what this does really is it's offering people the freedom to let go, to forgive, and to actually recognize that in this moment, in this now, I can really value myself. Whatever's gone before, I've learned, I've grown, and I can now choose how I'm going to think about myself, how I'm going to operate, how I'm going to be. And if you start to value yourself now, then that will give you a future that's very different than if you drag the portmanteau of not valuing yourself, which is going to just completely hold you back, drag you down. So for me, this is an affirmation of absolute freedom to be the very best version of myself, and for other people who are reading it to do the same.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I agree wholeheartedly. And it also goes back to what I was mentioning earlier about even the successes, or even someone who's valued themselves, who maybe has never had an issue with devaluation or so, but they can't hold on even to that value. That has to become irrelevant, so that the new emergence, like much what I was mentioning in terms of when you display the diamond of yourself over and over in a certain way, where there's so much more that wants to come forth. And so not to be distracted by the current or the previous value that you've displayed within yourself and got results, from that. You have to take that to the next level and allow the present moment to give birth to the newness of what's emerging. And the emerging self is typically the one that goes ignored. And I even say this even in business. You hear me talk a lot about not just honoring and serving your current tribe, but also the emerging tribe, because that's actually the one that seems subtle, but yet the most significant, that needs your attention. And when we're distracted so much with what has been, and also to what we think is emerging, so to speak, a lot of times we're missing sort of this grander element that wants to bring us into a lot of different dimensions of desire and possibility, and also those dimensions of valuing ourselves, a certain way. And so being able to understand what you are doing now and preparing in that way is preparing you for the future, for the emergence, and how you're going to be valued. You think about that even from the devaluation. People don't just get in relationships or attract certain experiences just based on what's happening right there in the moment. They have built momentum in terms of dishonoring themselves in different ways, or letting things slide or not taking care of themselves a certain way. And then boom, you're in the moment. And now it seems like it's happening in the now, but that actually has already been occurring. It's been ensuing for quite some time. And also too, it is already giving a projection of what the future will be if some changes aren't made, in this now moment. So when we look at valuing ourselves, valuing life and taking it to this next level, that's why, again, going back to the accurate preparation is so vital, is that you have to be preparing in this moment for what is emerging and not even trying to leverage the tools from before. Some of those, not saying that they won't have some place, but even with that, you have to be able to look at it with new eyes. You have to be able to take new approaches, even to quote unquote older things. How they say old keys won't open new doors, right? And so that's the same, old combinations to treasures, chests, and things are not, no, you need new combination, new success combinations during this time. So that's your new value codes coming. Here we go. Your new value codes are being extracted during this time. That's what's being unlocked during this segment of what's being created in this experience, is that the divine destiny codes are your new value codes that are coming online, if you will, within you to be activated, extracted and activated, during this time. So I'm going to come out of just this one here. Let me go ahead and close out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the well, I could have stayed there, but that's okay. Let me come over to the valuable me one. Okay, the valuable me, a self-value affirmations journal for honoring your God-given worth. So let's see what this particular one has, because I can't remember if this is a repeat kind of the other one, or does it have some different affirmations? They both have the valuable me, valuable you sections. Let me see which one this one has, because the other one is the valuable you, but it had a valuable me journal section. So let's see. Okay, this one just gets right into, they skip over it. Okay, so let me see what we're working with here. Okay, I am worthy of God's best. Oh, they're just showing us one. So, so that's what we're going to work with here. Oh, okay. So they only show one. So, okay, so I am worthy of God's best. So I want to be present with this for a moment, because when we separate our best, so to speak, versus God's best, that's on a completely different spectrum, right? Mm-hmm. Because we have just this finite understanding in terms of who we really are, and also the life that is really being prepared for us, that we're invited to co-create in on the experience. But sometimes we are playing too small, so to speak, or I like to call it not playing true. And when we are not in alignment with what is really source's best or God's best, we already have a limited perspective, which then sometimes we don't stretch ourselves in the ways that we can to be our absolute best, so to speak. So knowing that we are worthy of God's best takes us out of the bracket of our own little worthiness, so to speak, of what we think and believe. So Gina, do you want to speak to that? Do you want to speak to that really quick, and then we'll do kind of some deep breathing around that and ground that?
I think it's interesting, and people who are watching or listening to this, whatever your spiritual or religious views are, if you think about being the best version of you, being for those people who have come from that place, being in God's image, mm-hmm. you have to recognize that actually that there is something bigger than you, and mm-hmm. that by playing small, you're serving nobody. And that right. If you
not even yourself, really.
Absolutely, and mostly not yourself. If you look at a sunrise, or you go and see an amazing thing like the Grand Canyon, you get some sense of the magnitude of the magnificence that it's possible to be. And I think that if every day your intention is, I am going to live this day, and I'm going to live this day in the most magnificent version of me. Yes. Mm-hmm. And while there'll be times when I'll fall short of that my intention is to strive to be that magnificent version of me.
Mm-hmm.
And in the striving to be the best version of yourself, not competition with other people. This is about how you turn up moment by moment. Then you will be, you'll be doing God's best.
Absolutely. And being it to the fullest. And of course, I just have to really shout hallelujah on this one, because one of my bigger empires actually is the Majesty Magnificence Media. So I love how this all just kind of ties in, it is about displaying that magnificence, and which means that's the next level, right? Yeah. But it's a continuation. And that is one of my next levels of being able to present that, because with being in the wow energy, consistently and always bringing forth the evolution of it, it is magnificence after magnificence, wow after wow after wow, the awe of God after, the awe of God continuously and in dimensions, right? And so again, or source, however, creator, however you want to see that for yourself, is that when we show up in embodying that best, that's what's going to come out. And knowing that we are worthy and valuable from that place, that's where you actually have to come from, which doesn't allow you to come from yourself in any type of lower vibration. So you would never discredit yourself or never come from a place of less than, because that would never be the place that source is coming from about you. And so when you can love yourself, appreciate yourself, value yourself, and live from that place that source has, or God has, however you want to see that, have that for yourself. Yeah. Then you can never feel disconnected from your present moment value and worth. And that's what you need to really flow from. So what I'm going to do now to give you kind of a little mind-blowing experience that I mentioned, Gina, that is going to baffle you. Maybe not. You never get really surprised anymore.
Not these days. You used to. You used to get mind blown, but now actually it's the exception when I'm not mind.
Exactly, right. Yes. And that's the way it's actually supposed to be. Yeah. So, when you were talking about the different levels and the stairs and foundations. Yeah. So it took me to one of my publications. And so I'm going to show you the book cover here. Let me see if I can bring this up.
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
Did you see? Yeah, so the different stairs, right? So the multidimensional empire branding factor. So there's these different layers and levels. So you can see the staircase, right? Yes. All those different, So I just wanted to show that. It's like, wow, here we go. Love it. Thank you. But each level does have a new foundation that you are on, So I can come out of this. I can stop screen sharing now. So I've stopped screen sharing. So so that's just interesting how all of this, like I said, is tying in. And there are a couple of writings, even within the Love Thyself, that are about trusting yourself, self-love, giving yourself enough credit, if I can remember correctly, because Gina, you have the public, I actually might have one of those publications with me. Give me just a moment. Let me see if I have one.
While AliNICOLE is gone, one of the things I would say to you is it can feel daunting when you've not actually been used to journaling before to make a start. And one of the things that I suggest to my clients is that use a kitchen timer and just put it on for 10 minutes. Have the page open and just allow what comes. And if you can't think of anything, then just simply write, I can't think of anything. And to get into the habit of doing it on a regular basis. And the more you do it, the freer you will be. And all of those, the clunkiness about doing it to start with will disappear. It's one of the reasons why in so many of these intentional journals that we put a prompt or a quote to give you a starting point, because so often a blank piece of paper can feel daunting, where if somebody asks you a question, then you feel quite confident to at least give it a go. But with anything, just start. You will get better at it. You're back now. I was just filling. Oh
I was just listening to you. I actually couldn't find mine. It actually is my mom's actually, and thought I had it around me, but I don't, but that's okay. I was just going to say, oh, I can be present with the live energy of that for sure. But no, it's fine. You have yours. So we've been talking about the continuation of preparing accurately for this next level of value.
Yeah.
And so with that, we know that this extends into a lot of different levels in life, because also how you love and value yourself is going to play a huge part in terms of how you, even with your career, right? And Gina, we talk a lot about that in business, people value themselves and everything. But before we move forward to be present with maybe some other journals, so to speak, what you were reading from earlier, you talked about the disillusionment. And so if you can find that section again, or give the title of what that particular writing was in the publication. But I want to speak to that really quick, because I believe it was something you said about disillusionment. And sometimes, again, we can be in a illusion of what we believe to be true about our value and about the love that we are giving and receiving. And again, this goes back to being accurate in our awareness and our understanding, so that we can then apply the right action taking, towards whatever it is that we're doing. Go ahead, Gina.
So it's in the journal. Let's put it there. Love yourself. Be and give the love you wish to receive.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was in the introduction.
Okay, that was the introduction of what you were reading from?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't know if it had a title on that. Okay. Okay, good. All right. So read that part again. We're about the disillusionment part.
It talked about the illusion rather than disillusion. So an illusion of the absence of love is a call to love again. We must learn how to love ourselves enough that we give our love away our love in the right way.
That's right.
And at the right time. Sometimes people want to be loved so badly by another person that they miss the opportunity to show love to themselves and receive the gift of unconditional love from God. I once had a Facebook message from God that stated, "Everyone is looking for love, but the blessed ones do the opposite. Blessed are those looking to give love."
Looking to give love, that authentic love that you have received, and being in the receptive mode, for this. And it goes back to, or I should say, moving forward into where I feel that we're going to go next in terms of how this holistically plays a part. Because when you don't show up for sources or God's best, so to speak, then you won't actually gravitate those experiences into your world, even though a lot of times, sometimes they're present. You may not even recognize them, right? Because you're not even a vibrational match to it, even though it could be kind of in your vicinity, but you won't be tuning into it because you keep tuning into the value of yesterday, or the not value of yesterday or so, and not being present with what the potential is, in the present moment. So how does this affect your life as a whole? Well, if you're not coming from that stream of this right now value and worth, then again, whether it's your job or whether it's relationships, that's going to reflect back. So that's why extracting these codes for you now and allowing you to, be present with all that has been so far. And we're going to actually take some moments in just a little bit to be present with all of the affirmations that have come forth, the power statements, power synthesis, Gina was talking about. We're going to be present with all of that so that it can bring forth your right now information, and that can be illuminated to you. And then how do you move forward with that? But before we start going there, Gina, be present with the publications during this time, whether it's the one that we are still using or just any other ones that may want to jump out that could play to this. I know the profitability ones for sure probably could come into play, but anything just around life. But So we just let the journal speak. So it's, you know, they may even send us to our Amazon page if there's not something here or whatever, whatnot. But you just be present, and I'll just continue to kind of to speak about this. So yes, I'm not surprised that comes up. Yes.
Yeah. So that's harnessing your empathic, profitable Phoenixpreneur power.
Mm. Okay, so before we get into that, yes, before we get into that, for those of you who don't associate or identify yourself as being an empath, consider yourself to be highly sensitive, or this is the time to be highly sensitive, even to the higher vibrations and frequencies of love and value. So you want to tune your sensitivity into that highest trajectory, in a sense. And this trajectory is within yourself. So look at it as those staircases, the dimensions. It's just another floor of you. And maybe you're on a current floor, but imagine that you are the building within itself. And maybe you are on a certain floor within the building, but you do know that there are other floors. So just imagine what it would be like on one of those higher tiers. And that's a way that you can sort of participate in this, you know, participate at a higher level, you know, for this experience. But yeah, so you don't consider yourself, whether we're reading from this, oh, this, I'm not an empath or not, just be present with the information, but tune yourself in to be highly sensitive to the higher vibrations and frequencies. So Gina, go ahead.
Well, it's interesting because I think if you just, the principles are, many of them at least, are true for everybody.
Absolutely.
And the first bit that's popped out is those who embrace their empathic talents, and you could just say embrace their talents and step fully into their power, have the capacity to do great things in the world. Yes. The only limitation is that which they impose on themselves, to self-doubt and limiting beliefs. You are designed to be successful, to attract abundance, and to create high levels of profitability. It's time to get out of your own way, to let go of the old beliefs and habits which are keeping you playing small, so that you can rise like a phoenix and fly.
Yes, definitely. I love this. So you can rise like a phoenix, for sure. And we do know the context around the mythical bird, the phoenix, which burns itself up and then rises anew from its ashes. And it's intentional when it does this. And basically it is a rebirth. And that's what we have to do to become anew. And so this new value, you know, that comes forth allows you to, is one of the quotes within The Valuable You, that talked about whether you've been valued in the past or not becomes irrelevant. It is about what's rising now. Let's breathe on this. Let's take a few deep breaths. Let's take 5 deep breaths. So let's be with the space for just a moment, to just be present with what is the valuables that are rising up now? What's emerging? What is rebirthing? What does this new valuable you look like at this moment? How are you being? And what would you like for this experience to be like? If you're in business, what new products are coming up? How are you serving and being more valuable? And how are you being valued? What are you charging? Does that look different than what you are currently charging? So is there a new landscape that is emerging. We know that it is, but you actually get to be the one to create this new experience, to design it from this higher valuable place. And so before we move forward, let's already anchor what has ensued so far, all of the affirmations, all of the higher awareness, all of the breaths taken. And let's bring that into a culmination of your right now value and potential. Take a deep breath, please. So we're going to let that settle as the new foundation. Let that cement and be solid. And now we're going to move forward to build upon that which has been laid. Okay, so we can resume now. All right. So, Gina, do you want to speak a little bit about the profitability aspect and value, and then maybe shift to being more present with some of the other journals that may come up? I know you have several profitability ones, as well. So
I was just smiling because the sentence that's popped out before I leave this particular one is: the powerful, profitable Phoenixpreneur within is ready to rise with new passions, desires, and set forth a new blaze in the world with your new expanded awareness and empowerment as an empathicpreneur.
Wow.
And I just would say to people, if you've always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And it's time to step out and to be brave and to allow yourself to fly. It takes a bit of courage to start with, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Gina. And before we move forward, I want to be present with you for a moment and ask you, what does this do? Because it is, for me, it's doing something even in the present moment. Is this doing anything for you in terms of got your wheels churning and thinking about the next level of value, and even maybe thinking even in terms of a few things we've discussed in terms of certain things not seeming so interesting, or even wanting to give your energy to them? Do you feel that there's a sense of the gearing up for this next level of value that's going to be displayed?
Absolutely. For those people who don't know me, I mean, my work has been in empowerment and leadership for well over 30 years, nearer 40 than 30. And a lot of the things that I worked on, they've not gone away, but they are in a format that people can dip into without my physical in the moment presence. And that's freeing me to go on and to look at how, as I expand and I evolve, how I can then serve people who are also moving on. And it's an ongoing process. And the synchronicity of these sessions where there is a theme, and then you pick up a book. Some of these books I know well, some of these books I don't know very well, and you pick them up and your eye is drawn to something and it's absolutely relevant. And that happens time and time again. It's no accident that happens. And I think the more aware you are of these things happening in sessions like this, it opens up your awareness to those opportunities and synchronicities happening in daily life.
Absolutely. Well stated. We could almost just end right there, because that's perfect. And it goes back to even what we opened up with in terms of what you mentioned in terms of the value of intentional journaling. And having these prompts and having these types of experiences in this sacred space, so to speak, to allow the prompts and the triggers to come forth and to see those divine synchronicities is all code. And that's what it is. And it is revealing through the life force energy. It's revealing through the epistle of life, so to speak. your own unique gospel of you at every given phase. Is revealing to you how you actually should be moving forward based on your unique information.
Yeah.
And again, going back to, it's not in the stars, it's not in the cards, it being in the life codes. And so you're able to see through experiences like these, the journals come to life before you. You can read your life and study your life before you and see the magnificence of the continual unfolding. And some of you probably have been getting some ahas and some profitable ahas too, as this has, this segment has been ensuing, so to speak. So, Gina, I just love how these always take place. And like I said, for myself too, and believe it or not, I have created even newer works and newer strands, even more recently around, with the valuable you and the evolution of that. I have several different dimensions, like those stairs, of that. But there's also something else that is calling forth. I even have a strand of this that, your fellow STAR Celebrity Protégé, King Tom Tom, has done work with me in the invaluable work and the invaluable you work and everything. And I actually have several, I have a whole series on the value, and whether it's branding, it's empire building, it's leadership. I have, you name it, I have it in platforms on so many different levels. But something even in the present is bringing a lot of that into a grander context to be showcased in more of those self-certain, which I already have these, but again, just because I have tons, it doesn't matter, because it's not about the limitations of what has been and what's been great and what's been working. It is about the now level. And going back to what Gina was mentioning in terms of when she's created things and then she's on to her next level and to her next level. And so to me, this is that next level value jump off, so to speak. So I'm going to be interested in for myself when I go back and get present of what that's going to be, even based on what has happened, today, and how maybe I leverage. Because even as I'm talking about this, I have actually forgotten about some things that have been created in different strands. And so it's just the potential for those life codes, that information, to start speaking now of what needs to happen, with that. So Gina and I get the value of these sessions, these segments, just like the public does. We're facilitating it, but we too are in the moment still being transformed and ever evolving in the continuation of this expansion. Just exciting.
It is. I'm reminded, I can think back to training sessions where I had a group of senior leaders, and we've been talking about the momentum that is required, and that if you stand still, then effectively you're falling backwards, because everything else is moving on. But I'd like to take people back to those 4 words: know who you are, love who you are, value who you are,
yes,
and trust yourself. Let go of all of the old conditioning, and go and look at AliNICOLE's Amazon site. Go and look at mine, and you'll see what you're drawn to.
Yes.
And give it a go. Until you give it a try, you're never going to know. And I think what you will find is that doing it, you will see and feel the value of that, helping you see the value in yourself even more. And you will be drawn to the next one. And I'm surrounded by these.
Yes, and we need to be present with those too. And the reason for that is because we've laid a nice foundation. And now to springboard in acceleration is that all of the life. So how does this new trajectory in the value? So whether that's wellness, whether that's leadership, whether whatever that is, what does this look like for you now in terms of what are you building at this point? So Gina, you can be present with a group of journals, or just however you're being guided, because this is what needs to come. The foundation's laid with the next level and now level and next level of value. So what do they feel drawn to build upon? Who needs to value themselves more in their health? Who needs to value themselves more in what they charge, or their career, or just whatever? Who needs to stop BSing themselves? Who's valued themselves enough that, you know, they have that, what do you call it, the BS meter, or have something like that? They're solid in who they are at this point, not to allow these different things. So, okay, so Gina, be present with whatever else is coming up.
It's interesting, isn't it, that I think it's probably the profitability ones, which
yes, I was feeling that earlier, that we could segue into talking about that, since we brought up the Phoenix, profitable Phoenix, and about what's rising. But just, you know, I just wanted to allow the space to be what it is. And so as you are getting that stack, or whichever one would jump out, you know, for you, I want to speak to the holistic profitability aspect, which is something you and I talk, you know, so much about. And, you know, just in terms of this not just being about financial profitability, but this is the holistic. You know, when you are valuable, you are being valuable on all levels. And that's profitability. That's holistically, you know, how you show up in life. How are you valuing your time? That is currency. That is profitability. You know, what are you lending yourself to? What are you giving your energy to? And so we're building upon the, oh, wow. Okay. So you're laughing. So let's
sorry, I'm laughing because as you so as you were saying that, this is the bit that caught my eye. Becoming, and this is the profitable enlightened leader's journey. Okay. If you want to have becoming a profitable enlightened leader in the new era of consciousness requires a really strong grasp and an understanding of your why at a personal, business, local world, and at a conscious or spiritual level. When you know your why and you're really clear about your purpose, what it is you want to achieve and why that's important, you're much more likely to succeed in the long term.
Oh, wow. Yes.
So you'll excuse me if I giggle. I mean,
no, that's just so profound.
Yeah.
It just all synchronizes, doesn't it? Just
definitely. Yeah.
It just flows. Wow.
So
yeah. Hold that up. Hold up that. So let me be with this real quick. Hold it back up. Hold it back up. So so I want to speak to all those words are jumping out. Okay. So the energy would be the you energy, the person, you know, so to speak. And then is the profitability, that's the next word. Let me see that. Bring it back up again. The dimensions. So yeah, so this is happening in dimensions. Keep this up for just a moment here. So the energy, there's two things coming up here. The would be the individual, the so to speak. And the profitability is the encompassing of the experience. The enlightenment is the awareness and the embodiment. And then the leader is the way of beingness. Okay. And then this is the experience, the journey. And this is what is the preparation that's taking place now. So we're talking about profitability, and this is from the highest valuable trajectory, because these are the codes that are unlocking today. So we be present in the profitability, which I mentioned is from a holistic vantage point, right? And so let's just be present with this. So Gina, I want you to be present and go over to whatever is jumping out, because there'll be a word or a phrase that is a trigger, that is an extraction point of juncture, so to speak. And we're going to jump off from there.
Momentum.
Yeah. You were just talking about momentum. Yeah. And momentum is a word that you and I use very frequently. And we've talked about it, I even mentioned it even earlier too, in terms of what continues to ensue. So momentum is jumping out, which means this is an evolutionary leaping point in a sense. Okay. Yeah. So that means that there's some momentum that has been underway for quite some time. And now at this new valuable juncture, there's an opportunity to skyrocket, to catapult into a new dimension of the value. So that's what's actually been happening during this time, is the accurate preparation to now be able to take that evolutionary leap, or that that catapult into this newer trajectory and way of being. So actually, Gina, what has happened is in the deep breathing, in the grounding, all of that, a solid foundation has been built, but there's already the launching pad for catapult. So whomever has participated is already in a new trajectory. And now, so we've laid a foundation, we have built already, and the new world of expansion of value is already here. So now it is about the way of beingness. And that's why the leader energy, I said, that's the being. We think about the leader is, okay, that's the leader, that's the person. But the energy, as I said, that's the, that's the person. And then the different layers of the profitability and the enlightenment and the embodiment. And now the way of being is in this journey, in this experience. So here's a trajectory shift. The codes have unlocked, even for Gina and I, as we have been present with this, we too are already in another dimension of what's been emerging and ensuing. And shortly after this, we'll be able to recognize that shift. I'm already feeling that shift now, and feeling it even for the individuals who will continue to participate with this long after, And so this is significant. Wow, this is huge. So, so this new journey of enlightenment, this new journey of profitability, which was the new journey of valuing yourself. And oh man, this is rich, Gina. So is there anything else speaking from that one, or there's some other ones? So go ahead. Yeah,
just a little bit, because I think when people are expanding in this way, it can feel very unsettling. I don't know quite where I'm going. So this little paragraph has just popped out. When you drive along a road, you can't always see the whole route. You can only see the part of the road directly in front of you. The same is true of the journey to success in the new era of consciousness. And I think lots of people would think, I've got to know exactly what's going to happen, and I've got to have everything tied down in order to know it, and then I can trust myself that I'm in the right direction. And part of this is just allowing yourself to be, and so long as you can see the next stage. I mean, I've learned so much around the allowing yourself to be free of any limitations that you thought were there, because the likelihood is that they're not there.
Right.
And just take the next step and the next, but keep going.
Absolutely. That was brilliantly stated, brilliantly stated. I felt code energy unlocking just within that, it's great. You don't have to have the whole picture or to know, because it is just an unfolding. And here's the big thing, you are creating this also as you are going. And sometimes you don't actually need a grander picture, not from a visioning. You can have a feeling. What do you want to feel? What do you want to experience? And then let that be the jump off point. And that's the trigger energy right there, where I said this is a new juncture. Then coming back to that and springboarding with the momentum is that allow each moment, allow each code to unlock, just like being present within this experience. We have no idea. Each time we come to do these segments, we don't have a clue where it's going to take us. And then look how it just divinely orchestrates itself to the point it's so synchronistic. You would think it's planned out, and it absolutely isn't. But we are trusting in the moment and in the divine guidance. And that's how you have to do with your life. That's how you have to allow these codes to unlock, is that they will reveal to you moment by moment. I mean, in accelerated ways. We're here in this space. And do you see how the synchronicities keep, the momentum, absolutely. The momentum keeps building and building, but we're being present. And we're honoring whatever the core theme seems to be in the moment, and letting the core theme, which is a feeling, which is a context, letting that be what is kind of guiding what's taking place. And then it just leads us to the next, to the next, to the next. And that's all we need to know. And so when you apply that to your life and allow the journal of your life to present to you the reading, so to speak, that you need to be translating, okay? That's how you follow the breadcrumbs, if you will, the clues, the code clues, if you will. That's how you're going to extract more of the value. And that's what you actually really need to be focused on, instead of a grander picture, in a sense, is what's the next level of value? What's the now and next level of value? If you use the word just value and valuable and invaluable during this next week or so coming up, I would just be present with that and let the codes of value keep revealing themselves to you, because that's only going to bring you to your highest level. It's only going to bring you into the trajectories, for that greater expansion. It's only going to show you your greater potential. Just focusing simply on that word and meditating on that word, being present with that word, and then that value may reveal to you. Focus on the value of profitability. Focus on the value of enlightenment. I would attach value to everything at this point, and let that be the momentum that continues to ensue for you and bring you into the next clue, to the next clue, to the next clue. And the only picture that you need, if you had a puzzle that you were putting together, it should be at this point invaluable, the word value, or what that experience is. But you're making that up. And when I say making that up, meaning you're creating that as you're going. The codes will give you the clues to keep putting these puzzles together, unlocking this bigger picture. And the overall objective is, what is my highest valuable living at this point? What does my highest trajectory of value look like? And Gina, I think that right there, that is the cornerstone. That right there is the genesis and the end, the beginning and the end there, they're all there. It needs to focus on that. So be present. And if there's anything else that comes up, in terms of any other journals, or are you feeling complete?
I think that we are complete, quite
yes.
frankly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm actually feeling completion energy as well. But I wanted to be open because maybe you weren't, so.
I think that that's a really good place for people. I don't think anything that we say can actually top that. As the best piece of advice that you can have is that start to value yourself and notice and recognize what an amazing being that you are when you allow yourself to be.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I will make sure, of course, that all of the journals that have been featured today, whether they came up or not, there'll be links to those in the description. I'll have Gina's Amazon page, and also the ones that were present from me. I'll have those. I won't send you to my Amazon page. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. To have to go through
publications is quite a lot to go through.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, on those pages, Amazon doesn't allow you to categorize those. I have platforms, obviously, where they are. So I'll just have mine just listed in there, the ones that came up. But you'll be able to avail yourself to all of what Gina, has published. So you see a great variety of those publications on her page. And I'm going to encourage you to definitely take some time to be present with her page and allow those journals to speak to you, and other publications that are on there that could apply to this next level of value, for you, and start building, upon that, and start extracting and unlocking these different codes just from the wisdom and energy that she's bringing forth, through these works. People think I'm biased, of course, but it's true, Her works are brilliant, for sure.
Thank you. I have to say, there is so much richness here. A lot I've gained from this session, from our many sessions. And I would say to you, don't hesitate. If you're listening or watching to this, give yourself the greatest gift that you can. And they are pennies, but they have the opportunity to unlock the treasure trove for you.
Oh, absolutely. That was, once again, that was magnificently stated. That was just, I love that. Well, Gina, I love you and I adore you. And I'm so excited about the emerging things that are coming up, for you and I both, and how we will continue to serve others at the highest level. And as we allow our life codes to continue to unlock, others will benefit from that. And that's something that I want others to really think about, is that when you are unlocking your life codes, this higher trajectory is not just about you living this valuable life, but think about how many people are going to benefit from you unlocking your life codes and being able to live at their higher potential, because you've taken the opportunity to discover what that is for you. And then that's how you ultimately are able to be the love, really, to be, give, and have. And it's just a continual cycle. Give it out and receive it. And so definitely. So Gina, do you have any final words? Or are we, I can just go ahead and close this out. I always love when you have something to say. And you've said tons that have been beyond valuable. I guess I just love to hear you talk.
I think just to say to once again that the fact that you've been drawn to listen or to watch this says to me that you're absolutely ready to take the next step and to ultimately to value yourself enough to invest the time to allow yourself to grow, expand, to evolve, and to know that we are here and we are here to help. But to send you off with love and to say how much I've appreciated your mentorship and the opportunity to work with you, AliNICOLE.
Thank you.
And to know that both of us are here to help you be the best version of that you can be, but we can't do it for you. So take the step of valuing yourself enough to get going and to allow yourself to be the best version of you.
The best version, God's best, source best, for sure. Definitely. Thank you so much, Gina. I appreciate your words. And of course, I appreciate you because I learned so much from your leadership, as well. And yeah, I can't say enough great things about you. And so what I just want to say just in closing is take all of what has been shared today and be present with it. Let it become the cement and the new foundation to springboard from. And even though we've laid a nice foundation and you've actually built, but I want you to actually imagine that you're building more than just one house or more than just one thing, that you have multiple things that you're building, but you are building with the right solid foundation of what's most important, what's most valuable, and that is you being the best that you can be, so that you can in turn be able to display that value on multiple levels in the world at large, for sure. So always remember that your divine destiny isn't found in the stars or in the cards, but it's in the life codes. And we send you away with many blessings.